Hi guys, I am Christina Heidick. I am your leader here in the PTA PTO Facebook Superstar Face. If I forget this name right, it'll be one thing. The PTA PTO Superstar Leaders Group, and it is May, and I know that. Well, I'm really excited because we have a couple different things going on here, but it is May, and I know that I said I would talk about flyers. I know some of you are like, "Why the heck are you talking about flyers when it is almost mid-May, Christina?" And I will tell you more when it comes time to that. And you'll fully understand why I am talking about this right now, why I'm not talking about this in August. Although, I can't say I won't tell you about it again in August because they're great reminders. But first things first, I promised I would announce who the big winner was of the back to school flyer template that I have in my shop at, it's on the PTO Answers shop, and you can find that at bit.ly/PTO shop. So go check that out there. And it is, without further ado, the big winner of the template is Sandra. And I don't have a last name for Sandra, but she lives in Michigan. So as soon as I get done with this live, I'm going to be emailing you your prize, Sandra. So thank you so much for signing up to be part of my email newsletter. If you're not Sandra, or if you are Sandra, but not that Sandra, and you're wondering how the heck did Sandra win this? Well, my friend, I'll tell you, all she did was she headed on over to bit.ly/PTO giveaway, and she signed up to be eligible. That's it. So the deal is you sign up at bit.ly/PTO giveaway, and that will get you entered into the monthly giveaway, because you're also going to be signing up for my weekly newsletter. And it's not really a newsletter, but it's like news you can use. So I talk about a different topic pretty much every week, but it's different things that are totally relevant to you, and you can opt out at any time. But if you unsubscribe, then you're no longer eligible for the fun prizes, and the prizes change every month depending on what I think would be a good thing to give you guys. So I have so many different products in my store, so I haven't yet decided what it should be next month. So maybe I'll do a fun poll and I'll see what you guys want to do. I don't know. So anyway, Sandra, check your email soon for your prize. So I'm really excited to give that to you. All right, so I told you I would talk about flyers and all about how to create a good flyer. And again, y'all think that this is mistimed and maybe I don't have my finger on the pulse of this group, but I tell you, there's a genius behind this strategy, because the end of the year is coming up. But the end of the year is like, as the one school year winds down, the next one is already starting to rev up, right? You have all of these different orientations. You have parents coming into the buildings for the first time that are visiting the schools that where their children are going to be next year. You have kids coming for school visits. So it's a prime opportunity for PTOs to make an introduction to the parents and students. And I'm assuming you don't want to be at school the whole time, or maybe you can't be at all the orientation events. And I know certainly it's not possible to talk to everybody. So the most effective form of communication with these parents very well could be a really awesome flyer. So I'm going to help you create one. And I'm excited because it's something that it kind of, like, the design of flyers kind of comes semi-naturally to me. And I realize that that's not true for everybody. Like, some people really struggle with it. So I'm going to tell you some basic things that you should be keeping aware of when you're designing a flyer, because you don't want to spend all this time designing a flyer and then it looks like crud and no one looks at it, because that's the exact opposite of the whole point of the flyer, right? Can I get an amen for that? So my very best tip, and this is because I have seen, I have the templates available where you can use Canva, and I've already designed the templates for you, and you can customize the templates. And I've seen a thing or two that makes me a little concerned for some people that they need a little help with this. So, because even though it's all set up for them, they still get the urge to change the font selection to something crazy like Comic Sans. So, yeah, I guess that's my very first tip. Don't use Comic Sans as a font. It's not a particularly pretty font. Choose something else. But you want to make sure that you're choosing something that is easy to read. You might have all different types of parents in your school. One year we had a parent who was Legally Blind. So I would actually take everything that we were going to send home as far as flyers, and I would blow it up for her so she could see it. Yeah, I took that extra step, and don't you know, she got involved in the PTA and was so thankful. And it was so wonderful to have her perspective on things. And it was someone who very easily could have, like, I could have not done that step, and she wouldn't have been involved, and we would have missed out on all of her loveliness. And she is a wonderful woman. So I'm really glad that, we just went that extra mile there. It wasn't even that hard. You just have to know how to enlarge things on a printer. But make sure that the font is easy to read. So you want to stay away from the really super scripty fonts that are like super fancy. Those can be hard to read, especially if you're getting into like the smaller font sizes. So you just want to make sure that before you decide on everything, like, you're going to want to print out a copy of it and see how it looks at full size, because how it looks on your computer screen and how it looks when it's printed out could be two different things. And that's important for a couple different reasons. So I'm going to stick on fonts, and my mind can go all over the place because I am pretty creative, but not like officially professionally creative, but I'm creative on my own, but I still get shiny object syndrome. So I want to stick to fonts. So no scripty fonts. Don't make anything too tiny. Like, you should never be going below a 10-point font size. That's gonna be too small for people to read. In a lot of schools, grandparents are guardians of kids, of their grandchildren, and so they are getting the flyers. They need to be able to read them. So yeah, stay away from the really tiny font. And also, when you're designing your flyer, you really should have no more than 2 fonts. I've seen some crazy flyers out there with like 5 different fonts, and my eye does not know where to go. It just is so distracted, and I can't focus on anything. And so I'm kind of like missing the essence of the flyer's purpose. So make sure you're aware of that. And if you need help with this, they're actually a great tool that I use all the time is Google Fonts. You can go into Google Fonts and pick one font, and it'll tell you other fonts that pair with it nicely. Really basic. It's a free tool. So just search for Google Fonts, and you literally type in the name of the font. So you could type in Avenir, and then it'll tell you what fonts that pair with it. So awesome tool, and it's free. So the next thing, I mentioned that you need to print it out so you can make sure that you read everything. You need to print it out in color and also black and white, because unless you have access to a color copier. What I typically did when I was in charge of flyers for different events is I would print out a couple in color, but then I would copy it in black and white to be sent home, or for like the masses to take. Make sure it looks okay in black and white, and make sure it looks okay in black and white once it's been copied, because a lot of times the school copiers, they are produce something that's a little rough, so it might not come out very clear. Case in point, I designed a super cool flyer. It looks so awesome in color and on my computer screen for a glow dance party. And so I was kind of using a darker motif. Well, the school secretary printed out, and she's like, this looks really bad. Like, you don't want to use this. It's totally illegible. So it took a couple more, like I actually had to totally change the theme and change the font so that it was readable, because it just wasn't making the translation through the copier. It was just the quality of the graphics were really degrading, and you couldn't read it. So like, that's not the point. So the other information you want to make sure you have on the flyer is that you want it to be a complete communication. So you want whoever's getting it to not have any outside information and have enough information so that they can decide whether or not they could go to the event. So the place, the time, and the date of the event needs to be on there. There also needs to be contact information, either an email or a phone. I would highly suggest an email so that you don't get random calls. But if you want to have a phone number, great. The other thing, I just lost like a really important part. Maybe it'll come back to me. Name, place, email. It was something really good. So sorry. but make sure they have enough information on there. You also, oh, I know what it was. If this is an event sponsored by your PTO or PTA, make sure that it's totally clear on the flyer. I think one of the things that PTOs have a really hard time with is like demonstrating their value to parents and families who aren't necessarily involved in PTO stuff, so they don't know, like, why should I participate in this fundraiser? They don't know everything you're doing. A lot of times parents will just assume, oh, that's school's putting that on. It's like the magic fairy syndrome, kind of like where they don't know how it's happening, but they know that carnival is being put on and they're happy about that, but they don't know that it's actually the PTO. So when it comes time to support the PTO, maybe they're not doing as much as they should because they don't realize what the PTOs are doing. But if you make sure that you put your logo or at least your name or sponsored by, or for more information, contact, Bluestone PTO at bluestonepto@gmail.com, then it's totally going to be clear who's sponsoring the event. So you'll kind of like get credit for it. So that's good PR anyway, and it goes to like your group's branding and stuff. So I would also include on the Facebook, or I'm sorry, on the flyer, especially for like new student orientation materials, whether it's kindergarten or higher grades, make sure that your group's Facebook page is listed or the website for your group. Just so in case they're like, oh, I can't necessarily go to this event, but I definitely want to get more information. So just make sure to have that information on the flyer, because a lot of parents will go ahead and like the page or follow the page or sign up to get your newsletter or whatever. So those are all the things I could think of off the top of my head for flyer design. If you have questions, let's talk about this. Oh, I know one more. As far as graphics, and this is totally stylistically, but again, I've seen flyers with a lot of like little graphics, and a lot of times those, again, don't translate well when you have to print them, because the graphics just get muddled, because the copiers, again, are not like particularly like super advanced pieces of technology. So like sometimes the graphics can get just a little fuzzy. So just be aware of that. And again, print it out and make sure that it's like legible and that you don't have too much going on. If you have too much going on the flyer, then you're going to distract from the purpose, which is to communicate information about an event that you want people to be at or sign up for, some action to take. And if their eye is going all over the place and they can't focus on it, then that defeats the purpose. So you want to stay away from that. So I hope this has been super helpful for you. I'm going to stick around in the group for a little bit so we can talk about this, because I love designing flyers. I'm like a flyer nerd. So I'd love to help you guys get better at it too. So if you have any questions, we can talk about it in there. And just finally, to wrap up, I just want to say congratulations again to Sandra, and check your email. And if you haven't signed up for the giveaway so you can be eligible for June's giveaway, you can do that right now at bit.ly/PTO giveaway. So good luck, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.